Hello, this is T Chapman 500 and welcome to Factorio 1.1. I figured that since I didn't really finish off that last series properly and that the world is now deleted, that I would make a new video where I give Factorio 1.1 a proper send-off. Anyways, we're starting. You just saw the world settings, so let's get into it. Usually I would just skip the cutscene, but since this is for a YouTube video anyways, I'm gonna let it play through. The most important thing at the beginning of a Factorio run is to change your player's color. Just kidding, the color is irrelevant, I just like doing it. Besides, it's not like I'm in the middle of a death world where I'm gonna die while I'm changing the color. After catching my breath in the post-commentary because I waited too long, I finally started commentating about how I'm tearing up the ship. Or rather, I started commentating about tearing up the ship. By the way, I'm picking up the spaceship. I'm playing with fighters and pollution turned off, so the starting biome doesn't matter at all. In fact, this whole world doesn't matter, and you're gonna see why in a couple minutes. Anyways, every Factorio run starts with the player doing everything manually. We need to change that. But in order to change that, we need to gather resources to build the machines that allow us to automate things. This will pretty much be the only time that I manually mine up some iron. Surely I won't have to manually mine up copper. For this entire playthrough, I did not mine a single bit of coal from those coal patches. If you have two burner miners outputting directly into each other, you end up with a self-sufficient fuel supply. Just this one piece of coal is enough to get those two burner miners going forever, or at least until they fill up their inventories. Time to do a little bit of premature research queuing. Very premature. And this will be the most amount of miners I ever have on an iron patch for this entire playthrough. Oh look, I'm manually mining copper. Time to get some power going. In Factorio 1.1, a single offshore pump is only capable of supplying water to 20 boilers. And of course, each boiler can supply steam to up to 2 steam engines. Time for some more way premature expansion. Did I mention that this expansion is premature? This will be the only drill I place down on a copper ore patch for this entire playthrough. At least copper mining is automated now. Now I'm placing down my first wooden power poles. Don't worry, they're not going to be entirely useless on this playthrough. Oh look, I'm still focusing way too much on the premature power plant. Not one of these inserters will insert a single piece of coal into any of those boilers. Now we've begun researching. A short time later, automation finishes. I was well on my way to finishing Military 1 research when the power went out. So, attempt number 2 is on its way, and as you can see, I'm actually tracking an achievement. I actually cleared all of my achievements for this playthrough. While I'm not going to get all of them on this playthrough, I might as well make an attempt to get some. Also, for some reason, all of the achievements concerning biters have been disabled. And once again, I'm doing some premature planning. I hope this isn't too premature. See those science packs that I'm manually crafting? Those will be the last 10 science packs I ever craft. Actually, those are the only 10 science packs I ever manually craft. A couple minutes later, we have automation finished. That is, the research called automation, not actual automation. That won't come until much later. These are the very last items I will ever manually craft in this playthrough. And just like that, I'm disabling the permissions to do manual crafting, so I won't even be able to manually craft anymore. Which means I get the achievement, after the rocket launch of course. Would you believe it took me 45 minutes to get to the point where I'm placing down this mega blueprint of just furnace stacks? And in the meantime, very little has been getting done. More than half an hour later, logistics is finally finished. The next research node to be finished is military. About 20 minutes later. And another 15 minutes later, the next research to finish is lighting. And after a total of about 2 hours 45 minutes on this save, I'm finally setting up the belt factory. And here's what about 3 hours and 15 minutes of playtime gets you when you're going for an achievement. But at least I now have belts automated, and that's where this recording session ends. I start the next session by immediately fixing the fact that the copper's manual throughput is limited by a lack of belts. And while I'm at it, I might as well expand power production, because we're gonna need it. I followed that up by quickly automating copper smelting. Then I extended the iron output into a proper bus, followed by the copper output. Oh look, I'm finally starting up green circuit production. That only took about 3.5 hours, and about 20 minutes later I finally got around to expanding my iron mine. Here comes the beginning of the spaghetti. Hey, if it works, it works. And about 5 minutes later I finally have automated belt production. I certainly hope nothing happens that's gonna slow this progress down. This is what happens when you decide not to use a test world to build all of your stuff beforehand. Also, I miss Factorio 2.0's ability to manipulate ghost items. That belt is in the wrong place. Now this is where the iron belt actually goes. Good thing I caught it before anything catastrophic happened. You know, like the advanced assemblers not assembling properly. Oh, and here's where I finally get research kick-started once again. So, we have that. Steel processing completes while I'm blueprinting my inserter factory. And I'll never use it. The steel processing, that is. The inserter factory here actually does get used. Not only that, but it gets upgraded. And the upgraded inserters are also used. And now I've completed the gear factory for the belt factory. I need to expand copper production. The current production levels are far below what I need. By the way, this is the coal patch that's powering the entire base. The plan is to get an oil patch to the west that I haven't showed you yet, and power the base through solid fuel. Just a single yellow belt of solid fuel is enough to power 2 boiler stacks. I'm gonna move this old makeshift lab setup to something more accessible. A place where I can more easily expand production. I'll just hand feed these assemblers for now. I also need to prioritize getting the green science packs going. Something about having a very limited fuel supply for my base right now. This should be good. By the way, at the end of that recording session I forgot to save, so I just lost an hour of progress. So that's about 6.5 hours down the drain. I may have lost 6.5 hours worth of progress on that last attempt, but I have not yet lost my will to complete this challenge. I'm gonna spice things up a little bit by enabling biters, but slowing down evolution and expansion, and also giving myself a wide starting area. Also, because pollution is gonna be a factor, I made sure to start in a biome that can absorb the pollution for a long time. And remember how I said I got that one achievement in the last attempt? Well, guess what? When you restart attempts, you lose progress towards that achievement, and I'm not going to try again. It looks like I'm gonna have to speedrun oil again. This coal patch certainly isn't going to keep up with 40 boilers and all of the furnaces. Here's a burner mining drill snake, and some burner mining drills on the iron patch. I really can't afford to wait around. Anyways, here's an extended burner mining drill snake. Just kidding, I'm gonna move one of the mining drills up to the top to get that last patch. And now we've automated copper mining. Here comes the steam and temporary lab setups. Here's a creative way to not waste belts in the early game. Just insert the coal into the sides rather than at the ends. And just like that, we have automatic boiler refueling. No way this is gonna support fueling everything and providing 90 science a minute. Unlike in attempt number 2, in this attempt, I'm not even gonna get 2 yellow belts of iron. But at least for now, I won't need 2 yellow belts of iron. Half an hour later, I moved the lab to a more accessible location. And I have a furnace stack on the copper mine now. And just like that, we've fully automated iron production. Except for the inserters. There we go. In the last attempt, I think it took me something like 4 hours before I started blueprinting the circuit production. This time it's taking me less than 1 hour. I'm gonna need a lot of stone. And no, 24 furnaces cannot support 14 miners. I need science, and I need it now. Oh, by the way, I have a radar station now. The iron is now flowing. In a few more seconds, we won't have to handcraft belts anymore. And now the copper belt is flowing onto the bus. Full yellow belt production and green circuit production within 2 hours. Not bad. At least for me. What we need is some more power. Here comes the inserter factory. In theory, we will never have to craft another inserter for the rest of this playthrough. We're gonna need more copper. If you look closely, you'll see steel production lighting up now. Gotta get more science. By the way, we've got green science now, within just 2 hours. In the previous attempt, we didn't get green science even after 6.5 hours. Oh look, the assembly machine is going up. And this time it's gonna stay up because I'm gonna remember to save before I leave the game. Before I used a single level 1 assembler from that factory. Level 2 assemblers finished researching. Gotta get that science. Not enough science. Need more science. Since I'm keeping those burner miners until the patches are drained anyways, might as well put the copper on the bus. Can't do the same for the iron because it's blocked in by the copper. I really need to get this stone mine operational. The goal is to replace all of the stone furnaces with steel furnaces as soon as the steel furnaces finish researching. They finished researching, that'll be an achievement, and oh wait. We don't get achievements for replacing stone furnaces with steel furnaces. There is a certain irony in having to place stone furnaces after you've been placing steel furnaces. But I suppose that's what I get for placing the steel furnaces on the iron stack instead of the stone stack. So in this attempt, I got electric mining drills, steel furnaces, level 2 assembly machines, full belts, and full assemblers, all in 3 hours. And just like that, the rest of the copper smelting furnace stack is finished and upgraded with the steel furnaces. Notice something fishy about the lab setup? Like the lab's not having enough resources to do the research? Consider it fixed. Before I fully automate the research, I'm gonna queue up some military upgrades. By the way, I've upgraded to steel chests, and that pretty much finishes up the belt factory. Yep, that completes the belt factory. Now all I have to do is wait for the research. The research that's been dead for quite some time now. I wonder why. Oh look, I got another advancement. And here comes the automation of science pack production. This is long overdue, but at least it's finally happening. Give that a few more seconds and science packs will be fully automated. There we go. Now to make more. A lot more. Oops. Well, it's not a pretty start, but it's a start nonetheless. We'll work out the details a little later. And by later, I of course mean 10 seconds later. This setup will send 75% of the smelted iron directly onto the iron bus. The other 25% will go to the steel smelter. Time for me to dismantle this old lab setup, which is hard to expand. I'll just repurpose the lab structures that were there into this new setup. Even 16 labs is not enough for what I need. Spoiler alert, 24 labs won't be enough either, but at least I now have steel power poles. Let's prioritize a train network, cause we're really gonna need it. I'm also long overdue for putting stone bricks on the bus. I should probably also put stone on the bus. We also need to put coal on the bus. And speaking of coal, I don't think this patch will meet our needs. At least not while it's fueling the boilers powering the base. Oil processing is finally being researched, and I'm just gonna knock out the rest of these red and green science packs. And once again, I'm upgrading power production. And I do not believe this coal patch can support 40 boilers. Oh, remember that blueprint I placed a while ago? Well, I finally got around to filling it in. Take a look in the top right corner. I'm gonna fuel the boilers from that patch alone. Now I'm setting up ammo production because I'm about to go exploring. I definitely want to make sure there are no nests nearby. Wouldn't want the biters chewing up my oil refineries, now would I? 400 rounds later, I'm finally ready to start exploring. And wouldn't you know, there's a forest between me and the oil patch. Should have made some grenades. I started shooting up the forest, but then decided it would probably be a good idea to save my ammo for something more important, like biter nests 20 chunks away from the oil patch. The trick here is to just keep moving, be careful not to hit any trees, rocks, cliffs, nests, or worms, and you'll win. Provided you don't run out of ammo, of course. And to make sure the worms don't hit you, just keep turning, preferably back and forth. That was easy. Hopefully I can stay ahead of the evolution curve. You also need to be able to pick your battles well. In this case, I should not attempt the nest because I don't think I have enough ammo to win. I also passed up a nest buried in a forest for the same reason. Before I start drilling for oil, I'm gonna expand the iron mining so that I get a full yellow belt of iron. By the way, it's going to take 4 blue belts of iron to satisfy my research demands. Now, before I start putting down all of the oil pumps, I need to manufacture all of the stuff for handling oil, including refineries, chemical plants, oil pumps, etc. I will also need to properly automate engine production, because I'm gonna need the engines for the flamethrowers, and the flamethrowers will be to defend the oil fields. Might as well also include storage for pipes. The new factory for oil processors is really straining science production, so I'm just gonna have the splitters prioritize science. Also, I'm gonna knock out the rest of the research that does not require anything other than red and green science packs. I'm grabbing coal from the main bus to make grenades which I'll use to blow through the forests. I'm not going to expand quite yet because I want to make sure I can actually defend the expansion, and making the military science also has the benefit of producing stuff that I need to defend the expansion. I'm gonna use the walls and red ammo that's left over from the military science to defend the expansion, and to supply my car with ammunition. The grenades will be used for deforestation. By the way, I don't have nearly the amount of coal production that I need to sustain 90 science packs per minute, nor do I have the stone production for it. By the way, I've made a tiny little mistake with this blueprint. Can you see it? Now that I'm getting red ammo from the military science packs, I can delete this ammo production up here. Here's where I discovered the mistake I made, where I have the yellow ammo being placed on the belt where the red ammo is supposed to go. And only the red ammo. Technically speaking, red ammo on one side of the belt, grenades on the other side. I'll just knock out all of the research that uses exclusively the military science packs. One more thing before I build those drills. There's no point in building them if I don't have enough power to operate them. I almost never use the grenades for their intended purpose. I always use it for just deforestation. Now, because the oil field richness and size is set to the maximum, this should last the rest of the game. Placing down pump jacks is one of my least favorite parts of this game, so I better only have to do this once in this playthrough. I'm gonna put this radar up here for good measure, which by the way is gonna get moved eventually. I found a few nests uncomfortably close to one of the iron patches I wanna mine. This one was the only one I thought I could reasonably take out, so I did. I left the others alone. The tank is gonna change everything though. I may or may not have accidentally found the perfect location for a kill box, though I will have to push those walls out in the center. Well, I got the oil hooked up now. All I need to do now is put in the flamethrowers and the walls. For good measure, I decided to place a radar, so I'll be able to know exactly what's eating my base. Well, the flamethrowers are now up, and here comes the wall. I actually pushed the wall back a couple tiles so that the flamethrowers wouldn't have a blind spot in the middle. I might as well also have some gun turrets. Flamethrowers take forever to be effective, and gun turrets do immediate damage. I would just love to see them try to get past this. Hopefully, I'll be able to get off this planet before they get big enough to threaten my base. I decided it would be a good idea to put the main power pole inside the wall and try and get the other power pole as close to the edge as possible. The edge of the flamethrower range, that is. I suppose I should also put a tank inside the wall just in case that pipe gets fried. Oh look! I'm finally blueprinting the oil refineries that I'm gonna use to power the base. Spoiler alert, 40 refineries won't be enough. While laying down blueprints for the solid fuel production, the last of the military research finished. That is, the last of the military research that doesn't use any of the advanced science packs. Did you know that between Factorio 1.1 and Factorio 2.0, solid fuel production was doubled? Oh look, I got an achievement for crashing into 100 trees. In Factorio 2.0, this would be enough chemical plants to produce a full yellow belt of solid fuel. But not in Factorio 1.1. In Factorio 1.1, this is barely over half a yellow belt of fuel. I just blueprinted half a yellow belt of solid fuel from each of the refined oils. Oh look, I'm finally automating power pole production and rail signals for some reason. By the way, when I built the factory for the oil processors, I forgot to leave room for Tier 3 assemblers. Well, Tier 3 assemblers are overrated anyways. Now I have rails automated, but just like red ammo, I'm probably gonna dismantle this rail factory in favor of the one from one of the science packs. Here's a tip. You can split a station into multiple blocks so that the next train starts coming in before the first train finishes departing. I'm gonna regret not building these steam engines before finishing the solid fuel production. Oh look, I'm finally using red belts. Interesting. More refineries won't help this problem. Oh look, I found the root cause, a missing pipe. Oops, and it's missing on the other column too. Oops, that's much better. But it's still only half the yellow belt that I need it to be. I'm setting up an offshore pump in advance of advanced oil processing. Oh look, I finally discovered my mistake. But unfortunately, in fixing this one, I've made another one. I am absolutely convinced that this would have blacked out my base if my research was still going. And of course my splitter setup isn't giving an even distribution. I'll fix it later. Maybe. Just like that, we've got automatic fuel delivery. By the way, I'm not upgrading to rocket fuel at all. Solid fuel contains 12 megajoules of energy. Rocket fuel, which takes 10 blocks of solid fuel, contains 100 megajoules of energy. You do the math. So only the rocket silo's gonna be getting rocket fuel. I really should have built the steam engines first. By the way, I don't have nearly enough oil refineries for this. This would be double the chemical plants I would need in Factorio 2.0, which means half of the oil refineries that I need in Factorio 1.1. Oh look, I'm finally building more steam engines. I should have done that before almost blacking out the base. And just like that, our power issue is finally solved. At least for now. By the way, I'm gonna be moving the rest of those boilers north to be in line with the boilers I just built. See this pair of splitters? Well, that's eventually gonna be replaced with a proper 3-to-1 belt balancer. Off camera. Which is also gonna have the side effect of a significant jump in the amount of blue science research that has been completed. It's time to upgrade the power plant for one final time. Not only do I need to put in the rest of the boilers and steam engines in this power plant, I also need to move the first half of it north a little bit to be in line with the second half, all without blacking out the base. The way you do this is very carefully, and also very quickly. I'm gonna move these steam engines and boilers up in pairs, with the north side being moved first, followed by the south side. This whole time I need to make sure that there is always a connection from the offshore pumps to the new boilers. Can you guess what I'm not doing? Okay, never mind. It just took a little longer to actually start doing it. There's the north side of the power plant complete. Also notice that I'm not doing any research right now. I should probably get on that. There's really no reason for the labs to not be continuously active if there's science available to be done. Anyways, here goes the old coal belt. Don't need that anymore. A few minutes later, I finished the south side of the power plant. We are now at 72 megawatts of power. Spoiler alert, this isn't gonna be enough. I should just replace these burner mining drills with a single electric mining drill. But that's not what I'm doing here. Now I'm blueprinting combinators. But I'm not gonna be using any of these for quite some time. And that's almost all of the combinators automated. There's just one small mistake that I'll discover and fix later. Let there be lights. Oh look, I'm finally automating the production of mining drills. And I found the mistake in the logic factory. And no, I'm not gonna build a CPU in Factorio. It looks like I'm finally automating blue science. About time. I do not have nearly the iron, copper, or coal production to keep up 90 science packs per minute. I must admit, there's something satisfying about coming up with all these blueprints yourself rather than taking stuff from the internet. Although those lane balancers are still taken from the internet, I really miss being able to pick up landfill. And here comes the spaghetti. I need some way to feed petroleum gas to the blue science factory. So, another train it is. This will also be replaced with a proper 3-to-3 balancer, off camera, and when that happens, all of the chemical science will be researched. This is overkill for what I need, but at least it's going to work, and splitting the station into multiple blocks will greatly increase the maximum throughput of the station. Here's a roundabout blueprint that I'm gonna use at all of my intersections. This is why I need a proper 3-to-1 belt balancer while I still do not have blue belts. Anyways, here's the unload station. And now petroleum gas is connected to the rail network. A short time later, I finalize the schedule and fuel the locomotive, and it goes off to pick up the petroleum gas. I need to automate pump and tank production. And now the petroleum train has fuel. I probably should have done that before sending off the petroleum train, but as long as nothing runs out of fuel, I don't care. Oh look, I forgot to feed coal to the plastic production. And this is why you should always look before crossing railroad tracks. Coal isn't the only thing I forgot to take into account. Sulfur. Now we're producing plastic. We are unable to sustain 90 blue science per minute. For now. Time to queue up all of the research that takes only the blue science packs. It really doesn't matter what order I put these in because they're all gonna get researched anyways. Oh look, I got an achievement, followed closely by advanced oil processing, which I'm not gonna be using for a while. And there's substations. That looks like uranium processing, but it's kind of hard to tell with this preview window that I cannot resize. Electric furnaces, blueprinting the wrong iron ore patch, building a new steam power plant, and faster research. Finishing the new steam power plant, cooking more spaghetti, fueling the new power plant, even faster research, processing units, lubricant, speed, productivity, efficiency, deforestation, more spaghetti, and rocks. Now it's time to attack an expansion. By the way, I'm running out of hard drive space for this video, so if you see a part 1 in the title, you'll know why. This is a boring fight. Skip another boring fight. Skip. That's a nice nest you've got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. Also, nice try. So much for that nest. And that's the end of the worms. Now this is more like it. You better not damage my car. You're gonna regret damaging my car. Oh wait. No you won't, because you won't be able to. It's entirely possible to take down a nest of about any size, so long as you're not dealing with anything bigger than medium worms or medium biters. All you need to do is remain unpredictable and stay to the edge of the nest. Looks like inserter capacity bonus just completed, or stack inserters. Does it really matter if both are gonna be completed anyways? Anyways, there goes the nest too. And there goes another nest. This nest will be a bit trickier because it's surrounded by trees and rocks. Perhaps I'm getting a little bit too confident. And it's still no match for an engineer in a makeshift car with makeshift weapons and makeshift bullets. I think I'll pass on that one. For now. A blue belt's worth of iron, and I will eventually have to replace that with a blue belt, because the first 4 science packs needs a full blue belt of iron to produce 90 science per minute. I'm also gonna need to replace those splitters with a proper balancer. Or not, since the blue belt will take care of that. Anyways, here's low density structure. Even more spaghetti, a full upgrade of my iron belt to red belts, rocket fuel, purple science, nuclear reactors, electric motors, lasers, train stopping 1, and the start of a purple science blueprint, and the rest of the blue science and some of the blue and black science. This copper patch is my next target. I really need it. I also really need stone, and this stone patch that I forgot about right next to the oil patch will do just fine. While I'm at it, I might as well put red circuits on the bus. This will give me the stack inserters, which will be called bulk inserters in Factorio 2.0. These red circuits will only flow onto the bus when I'm not researching anything. Time to add another roundabout to the rail network so I can transport the copper to my base. This patch has a capacity of 5 yellow belts per copper, but I'm only gonna pull 4 yellow belts of copper from it. I'll need a total of 12 yellow belts of copper in order to maintain 90 science per minute for all science packs. Here's another solid fuel drop-off. This will fuel the furnaces and the copper train. Because evolution and expansions are so slow, the best way to defend an outpost is by destroying any nearby nests. I'm not even sure that I will ever need to build defense perimeters around my base. And about an hour later, I finally got the rail system connected. By the way, it's been a long time since any science was finished. I wonder what the holdup could be. Oh, that's what it was. Oops. Might as well make a lane balancer while I'm at it. Might as well also make the power lines redundant so that a single accident can't black out the entire base. A short time later, I queued up a lot of the remaining military science that I could do, and automated steel chests, and big power poles, aka substations. After about another hour, I'm finally placing in all the mining drills for the copper mine. Once that was done, I finally got the mining drills hooked up to the power grid. They're not going to be drawing much power right now, although it does look like a lot. It's really not that much compared to what I can produce. And wouldn't you know, I missed a few belts. Oops, this represents about a third of what I'm gonna need. 10 minutes later, I got the new fuel train set up and accidentally got the achievement when the train went where I didn't want it to go. Here's a hint, it was supposed to wait at the station until it was full, then leave. Part of the reason why it took so long for me to get this operational is because this is the effect I was going for. Almost. I just discovered while editing this video that not all of the furnaces lit at the same time. I am very disappointed. Anyways, it's time for another train, and this is why you always check before crossing the tracks, even in Factorio. Here's the blueprint for the copper drop-off station, and here's the schedule for the copper train, which is just gonna sit there at the copper mine until I connect the new station to the rest of the rail network. And now it's fully connected. Oh, would you look at that? Tanks are finished researching. By the way, I finally caved and imported some blueprints from the internet. A whole blueprint book. By the way, I've completed all of the science that does not use any of the purple or yellow science packs. Here comes a train for crude oil, but I'm really running out of space for these train stations. The first thing I did in recording session 16 was automate storage tanks, followed by efficiency modules. Then I connected the crude oil pickup station to the rest of the rail network. Here's the crude oil train I set up that I'm not gonna use for quite some time. Oh look, I'm setting up more belt balancers. Then I spent some time clearing up an infestation on a copper patch. I wonder why I'm tracking a couple of achievements. Oh, that's why. This probably isn't a good idea with a car. Well, it looks like my car met its doom. Now I have to take the long walk of shame back to base. They're gonna pay for that car. About a third of the way back to base, I realized that I had enough resources to craft another car. So that's what I did. A lot of solid fuel and coal was destroyed when that other car blew up. After driving back to base, I gathered the resources needed to handcraft a tank, and I fueled it and put ammo in it. I don't have shells yet, but that can come later. I then got an achievement as I was wiping out what was left of that nest. After making very short work of another nest of similar sized, I wiped out yet another nest without firing a single shot. Upon starting the 17th recording session, I immediately started preparing the solid fuel production for advanced oil processing. To do this, I will need exactly 30 oil refineries, 33 petroleum gas to solid fuel chemical plants, 54 light oil to solid fuel chemical plants, and 15 heavy oil to solid fuel chemical plants. This will equally draw proportion-wise from all three oils produced by the advanced oil processing process. Here comes a great view of what that looks like when it's all finished. All that took the better part of about 45 minutes. Now that I'm perfectly pulling from all three oil products, I don't have to worry about any one of those products backing up. Also, I'm finally getting rid of all those legacy items. Rest in pieces, early game items. You will not be missed. While I'm upgrading the oil processing, I might as well put that oil to use when it's not being used to make solid fuel. Technically speaking, I'm procrastinating with getting that purple science up. Oh look, I'm putting efficiency modules in all of the oil refineries and chemical plants. I'm also going to put them in the miners eventually. I finished building the oil loading stations, put pumps on the outputs of the oil refineries, and finished putting the modules inside the chemical plants. I upgraded green circuit production to 15 items per second, loaded up my tank, and then prepared for war. Before going off to war against the biters, I decided to blueprint the coal patch. I brought the tank with me so that I could clear out any nearby biter nests. I'm gonna bring the coal over to the base by train, and this is gonna be more than enough mining drills for what I'll need. Ever. I pushed back so far that I entered medium worm territory, but the nest was still no match for my tank. Keep in mind that I still don't have any shells to use against them. Yeah, I'm definitely stalling putting up purple science, but I would really like some better ammunition for my tank. And those cliff explosives. This is enough explosives to produce 60 of each type of explosive ordnance per minute. It may be overkill, but it works. Correction, now it works. Sort of. And now it's bye-bye cliffs thanks to some handcrafted cliff explosives. And now we have flamethrower ammo. Time to get another achievement. Of course, the fastest way to get this achievement is by using the flamethrower on the tank. I've also been spending time placing efficiency modules in all of my mining drills. This way I won't have to add any more power production. We're gonna skip session 20 because that recording got corrupted. And no, I do not know exactly what all changed between the two sessions, so enjoy. I do know this, however. Between sessions 19 and 21, I put up explosive shell production and explosive rocket production. And as you can see here, I'm blueprinting the Purple Science Factory. By the way, I have personal robo ports now. Purple science will take up significantly more space than all the other sciences. Quick detour to make some caution lights so I stop hitting those pipes. That balancer was for the green circuits, not for the iron. Oops. Now we're producing the plastic that will be used to make the red circuits that will be used to make the electric furnaces and productivity modules. While I'm at it, I might as well complement the red circuit production that's already on the bus. This is going to be on a priority splitter so that the science will get all of the red circuits when at full capacity. Basically, science production gets first dibs on everything, and the rest of the factory gets whatever is left over. I would say that productivity module production is up, but the inserters are facing the wrong way. Oops. Electric furnaces. Oops, oops, oops. Tons of rail production. This will be a full yellow belt of rails. I forgot to leave room for the iron sticks. So spaghetti it is. Hey. If it works, it works. And just like that, we've got purple science. I spent the next few minutes adding labels to all the ore patches that I'll need to expand to. And by the way, I'm gonna need to do some more exploring if I'm gonna find any more stone, because I've got all of the stone on the revealed map. After a total of at least 24 hours of real life time, we finally have blue belts. So now I'm setting all of the assembler recipes, later I'll add the blue belts to the hotbar, and I pretty much spent the rest of the session replacing the red iron belts with blue iron belts. Oh look, I got an achievement. By the way, I will need one blue belt of iron going directly to steel production, a second blue belt of iron going directly to green circuit production, and a final blue belt going to the rest of the factory, which will eventually have to be supplemented with a fourth blue belt later on down the line. I'm also gonna need 1.5 blue belts of copper, just for the green circuit production. Since I'm gonna need a whole lot more steel production, here's another furnace stack. These two stacks combined will consume a full red belt of iron. And here's the third furnace stack for the beginning of the base. So now I have steel production and circuit production competing for a single blue belt of iron, with both requiring a blue belt of iron each. My 3 stacks of 24 furnaces at the beginning of the base may seem like a lot, but it's not enough. So I'm making 2 more stacks of 14 furnaces to make up the difference. Note that it's actually the stone that's going to be the bottleneck for now. I'll just feed the output directly onto the bus. The iron's flowing into the furnace stack, but I need to fuel the furnaces. I'm gonna deliver the fuel by train. This is not the right balancer for the job. Don't worry, I'll fix it off camera. Now that the fuel's in, all I have to do is turn on the power, and we've got more iron. I'm also gonna upgrade the input assemblers, just in case. My factory ran out of petroleum gas, so I'm rectifying that situation now. There are probably better ways to do this, but I plan to be off the planet before I need any of those. Also, as part of a temporary solution to my hard drive space problem, I'm probably just going to skip recording much of this playthrough. The evolution is high enough now that medium biters now exist, but I don't anticipate having to deal with them anytime soon. Or in the case of this playthrough, ever. Oh look, I'm finally building the yellow science factory. Here comes blue circuit production, more red circuits, and lots of spaghetti. Thanks to the yellow science, the copper is a real bottleneck now. But I have the equivalent of a blue belt and a red belt of copper, so I'm gonna increase the throughput to take advantage of that. I also need flying robot frames, but I already have that. I just need to expand it slightly and send it across the bus. The rest of the build I'm gonna do off camera. I'll bring you back in for the rocket control units, the rocket fuel, and the rocket silo. I'm also gonna make any fixes off camera. I changed my mind. Here's yellow science. I suppose I don't have to tell you that there's not going to be a part 2 to this video. Here's rocket fuel, rocket control units, and the place where I'm gonna put the rocket silo. For some reason I can't handcraft concrete. This will be enough. Sure, it'll be slow, but I'm not recording it anyways, so I don't care. I'll just place the blueprint for the rocket silo down while I'm gathering the materials to actually build it. I spent a lot of time off camera gathering resources and tweaking the factory, but I'm finally able to build that rocket silo. And here it is. I even prepared tier 3 productivity modules in advance. Because I'm not doing things the proper way, there's a lot of manual intervention going on in this factory. Needless to say, I'm always running short on petroleum gas. Even without manual intervention, the rocket was inevitable. I just sped up the process, and in due time, I was rewarded with my very first rocket. You didn't really think I was gonna go up on this rocket, did you? No, I'm gonna get the achievement first, then I'll go up on the next rocket. I believe this is a new personal record for me for most achievements gained at the same time. So, no lasers, no solar panels, no advanced logistics, launch a rocket with a fish, and of course, launch a rocket. I might as well take care of that last achievement while I'm waiting for that second rocket to finish building. There we go. Now my tank can rest in peace. At last we reached the end of the video. In Factorio 1.1 you can put a car in the rocket, then press enter when near the silo, and launch yourself into space. You cannot do this in Factorio 2.0, even without the DLC, which is why I'm doing this in Factorio 1.1. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in the next video. This is T Chapman 500 signing off.